How's it going, my dudes? This video's brought to you by Squarespace today.
What the A? That might have been the question on many fans' minds as they jumped into the third season of Star Trek Discovery and noticed some changes had been made to the ship. It spent 2 seasons as the testbed for new Starfleet technology, but it got rebranded and redesigned as the ship jumped forward into the 32nd century. Now, we've already covered the original USS Discovery in one of these videos, but we thought now was definitely the time to go through this one too. With a list of commanding officers almost as long as the USS Enterprise's in total, both before and after its refit, the Discovery A remains the only ship in the fleet equipped with a spore drive. Star Trek Discovery's 5th season has confirmed that research into more spore drive technology has been put on hold, so that makes it pretty unique. While popping an A on the registry might be about as effective as sticking a pair of glasses on Clark Kent to make people believe he's not Superman, there is a lot more to this original 23rd century ship than meets the eye. So lock in Black Alert and get your saucer section spinning, because I'm Sean Ferry for TrekCulture, and here are 10 secrets of the Discovery A you need to know. Number 11. Saucer Sep D Reit. Full disclosure before you watch the rest of this video is that we filmed this before the finale of season 5 aired, which meant life itself introduced a few new elements that had to be included here. The first was showing that the Discovery A was capable of saucer separation. This is displayed when Raynor orders the saucer to be separated so that the Breen Dreadnought and the wee scout ship can be jumped via the fun mycelial network to the galactic barrier. It is an awesome scene in the episode that does leave room for some questions. The separation as shown is slightly different from separations we'd seen on such ships like the Enterprise D before, as opposed to separating 2 separate ships. If you go back to the original design of the 1701, as done by Matt Jeffries, that saucer section could also be separated from a Constitution-class ship, but in that case, the saucer section was said to be only as a life raft, for example, as opposed to the later Galaxy-class ships, where both the saucer section and drive section could function as 2 independent vessels. The second big thing that's introduced in life itself is that the Discovery A is de-refitted to become the original Discovery again. Now, the reason for this is so that the episode can fit into the short trek continuity for Calypso, which was, of course, the original Discovery in that episode. It's left vague enough, thanks to a red directive, that really our own headcanon can fit in why the ship was de-refitted, as well, we can both say there's no good reason why the Discovery A shouldn't be sent, but also it was a wonderful, nostalgic scene in the episode. Well, quite frankly, I just want to see the ship again. One last thing before we go back to the past version of myself. Who jumped the ship at the end? Number 10. Beyond the smallish screen. The USS Discovery A may be confined on screen to the series that bears its name, but outside of the show, there are a couple of places where fans can get their hands on this ship. In terms of models, 2 were available representing the ship in its 32nd century design via the sadly missed Eaglemoss. One was part of the normal Discovery line, and the other then was part of the XL line as well. Star Trek Online has also delved into the existence of the NCC-1031A. In that game, it's also equipped with the cloaking device that was established in Discovery's 3rd season. Before this, only the USS Defiant had officially carried cloaking technology, but with the unification of Romulan and Vulcans aboard on the planet Ni'Var, this effectively negated the Treaty of Algeron. In turn, this means that the Federation can use cloaking technology, though it appears sparingly. As recently as the episode Face the Strange, we get reminded that the Discovery is equipped with a cloaking device, whereas Star Trek Online takes a more military stance with it, calling it the Battle Cloak. Number 9. Virtually there. Season 4 of Discovery made a significant change to the way in which it was filmed, with the addition of the AR wall that allowed the show to push beyond what had previously been established via sets. As some of the show was also filmed during the COVID-19 lockdown, the AR wall allowed the series to move beyond any restrictions at all. One set that seriously benefited from the addition of the AR wall was Discovery's shuttle bay. That set was always a bit unusual because rather than the outer space doors that we were used to seeing, it was always separated from space by a force field that we all really hoped never switched off. The advent of the technology via such shows as The Mandalorian allowed the show to leave the quarantined confines of the soundstage. The AR wall also allowed for much greater sense of realism when, for example, the Federation were meeting with Species 10C. Because the footage can be played live, it allows the actors as well to react in time rather than adding a lot of the effects in post-production. Unreal Engine's YouTube channel gives further insight in one of their short video breakdowns as to the use of this technology. According to the NAB Amplify website, the stage includes an LED wall outfitted with 2,000 panels with another 750 panels on the ceiling that measures 72 by 85 by 24 feet. More than 60 OptiTrack cameras surround the stage to provide tracking, and it's all run over by 40 high-end GPUs running Unreal Engine's N-Display to synchronize the 2,750 plus panels. There wasn't a prayer I was going to be able to remember that. Number 8. Crashed and not burned. There's a significant moment in the timeline of the USS Discovery, in fact potentially two when it comes to planetary interactions. Season 3's second episode, Far From Home, sees the Crossfield class, while not yet bearing the A moniker, but still, become the first Federation starship to crash land on a planet, yet successfully return to space afterwards. I am of course talking about the entirety of the ship. Yes, I'm looking at you, USS Entercues. This crash land wasn't actually noted in the original video we did on Discovery, so it definitely bears worth mentioning here. There is an exception to this rule, and that's the Defiant in the episode Children of Time. However, as one of those alternate histories did in fact mean the erasure of an entire set of people, basically we don't want to touch that one. Discovery, I will say, almost does this twice, because in the 5th season opener, Red Directive, it, along with the Antares, deliberately effectively crashes into the surface of Kamau in the attempt to save the village from the actions of Maul and Locke. It's not technically a crash land because it's using the shields from Discovery and the Antares to stop an avalanche, but it does look like a pretty cool crash land if you get where I'm going. It's not entirely dissimilar to the Enterprise in Star Trek Into Darkness that does fall into the atmosphere of Earth but manages to crawl back up into space. Another thing that the Discovery and the Kelvin Universe Enterprise have in common is that they both appear to have been built on Earth's surface, as we see in the Discovery 5th season episode, Face the Strange. Number 7. Transformers, Starships in Disguise. Concept artist Ryan Denning had a very novel idea as to what the Discovery A would actually look like. The new version of the ship, in his mind, would actually have the Discovery A as more of a flying saucer that would then deploy nacelles when it needed to go to warp. There would also be a secondary hull that would be added to that as well. As we see, the secondary hull would remain as part of the overall design of Discovery A, attached to the saucer section, while the nacelles would remain in that, at least the conceptually wireless form that Denning had originally thought. Another idea that didn't make it to screen was to remove the central strut in the saucer section's donut ring, we'll call it. That did end up remaining with the ship. At one stage, there was a concept that the saucer would actually remain permanently separated from the secondary hull. Now, while that didn't remain on the Discovery A, you can see that in such ships as the USS Voyager J, for example. Ultimately, the decision to refit the ship rather than repair it came after other 32nd century ships had been designed, so they were able to feed into each other in that respect. Denning took the ship back to basics by removing an awful lot of the surface texture on the ship, which then allowed the designers, it's a very useful jumping off point to build up from there. It gave them a chance to retain that 32nd century gleam that is in all the other ships, but still keep the classic overall shape that we saw from the beginning. Number 6. Slap a plaster on it. At the conception of Discovery's 3rd season, there was no plans to upgrade it to look like a more 32nd century style. In its first appearance in the season, Far From Home, sure, it was going to crash land on the planet, but the plan then was to simply repair it. As stated, with an asterisk, that was unusual because no other hero ship had managed to do that. According to Ryan Denning, in the accompanying magazine for the Eaglemoss model, the idea was to effectively have the Discovery wrapped in bandages, that it would serve then as patching the holes that it would have incurred from the crash land. This would then be augmented with 32nd century technology. The bandage idea would stay in a way when it came to the new surface detail on the 32nd century Discovery A, but a lot of that was then parked while they went and worked on other 32nd century ships. By the time he and production designer Philip Barker returned to the Discovery A, they had already designed so many of the 32nd century ships that they were able to incorporate some of their designs into the Discovery A as well. In fact, there's an almost throwaway line in That Hope Is You Part 1 that about floating buildings, for example, that Denning said directly inspired the look of the ship with its wireless nacelles. Number 5. Internal affairs. The overall sets that represented the 23rd century USS Discovery were retained, but they were updated with 32nd century designs. Adding holodecks to the interior of the Discovery A was immediately recognizable to fans who are much more used to holodecks being on ships. Discovery did, however, take things a little bit further on the interior, much the same way that Denning had taken things further on the exterior. As seen in That Hope Is You Part 2, traditional turbolift shafts were consigned to the past. These travel boxes could now move in any direction, up, down, side to side, back in time, without the need for specific shafts. This would have been bad news for, like, example, Captain Picard and a bunch of kids who just want to sing about falcons and dogs. The implementation of the tri-com badge design as well effectively rendered the transporter room on Discovery obsolete. In a behind-the-scenes video posted by Wilson Cruz, he took us on a bit of a tour of the Discovery sets, including Captain Burnham's quarters, and he revealed that Sonequa Martin Green had been involved in the design of the aesthetics and props of that room as well. Number 4. There is a light that never goes out. The original formation of the USS Discovery included that familiar Aztec patterning that is available on most Starfleet ships. When it came to rebooting the Discovery A for the 32nd century, they were given something of a clean slate to start again, as per the instructions of executive producer Alex Kurtzman. What ended up happening is that the surface ended up losing a lot of its angular design and was given more of a rotary style design on the exterior as well. Denning was also able to tweak parts of the ship that he felt hadn't quite worked. For example, a raised spine section that runs from the back of the saucer section right down to the shuttle bay. Cutouts were added to the wing sections of the secondary hull. The underside's blocky and quite angular section of the secondary hull was flattened and made to be more sleek. The deflector dish was replaced with a blue-hued device that is much more similar to the refit Constitution class from Star Trek The Motion Picture. Also, take a good look at the windows on the Discovery A. They've all been recessed into the hull, which is a little bit different from the way they used to be, which was more flat. This can be best seen on the inner section on Discovery's donut saucer section. Number 3. It really doesn't matter, unless it's programmable. By far, the most jaw-dropping upgrade to the Discovery in the 32nd century isn't the new uniforms or Sonequa Martin Green's amazing dreadlocks, but it's the programmable matter. Aside from being the material that keeps the Discovery's wireless nacelles in place, this programmable matter was introduced across all surfaces on board the ship. While the 24th century ships had the absolutely beautiful LCARs, the programmable matter takes this and dials it up to the next level. Adjusting to its user, it creates an interface that is immediately unique and best suited to every individual using it. It also had an opposite in terms of programmable antimatter, which was used in the shields of Discovery, particularly when it was trying to travel through the 10C's hyperfield shield. It has its origins in the real world back as far as the early 1990s, where it was first termed by Boston University professor Tommaso Toffoli and physicist Norman H. Margolis. This referred to fine-grained compute nodes that would interact with their neighbors. That definition would be changed within a decade. It would now describe matter that could be programmed to change its physical appearance. Star Trek has on many occasions taken existing technology and imagined where it could go, so this is yet another case of Star Trek extrapolating where programmable matter could get to given enough time. Number 2. Zora the Explorer. Introduced in the short trek Calypso, Zora is the artificial intelligence that effectively runs Discovery, but she is more than that because she is very much a crew member on her own terms too. As Zora terms herself, she is a combination of the Discovery's computer, all of its records, its history, and its crew logs, and of course the data from the sphere that Discovery encountered in the second season. Her first appearance could also technically be her last appearance, because in Calypso, the Discovery was said to have been abandoned for such a long time, almost 1,000 years in fact, and Zora was on her own this entire time. A deleted line from Such Sweet Sorrow Part 2 would have established that the Zora program was being designed at Daystroms to replace the dangerous control program. That is the same program that tried to acquire the sphere data that would eventually make up what became Zora. Number 1. Ticking the registry. Aside from getting a nice new tattooed registry across the saucer section that serves to hide the 23rd century ship in the 32nd century and play complete havoc with the canon events of Calypso, there's a lot more going on inside the Discovery than just on the surface. If we compare this to the third season of Picard, which gave us the Titan A, we know from production notes and from stuff shared online that that ship quite literally is the Titan that Captain Riker had commanded, just rebuilt from the ground up. This is mirrored in Discovery many centuries later when it is given a rewire, a rebuild, and a dash and an extra letter. This is in fact only the 6th starship in the entire history of Star Trek to gain a letter after its name. Others that fans will immediately recall is the Voyager A and Voyager B from Prodigy and Picard, as well as the J from Discovery. There's the Titan, as well as a certain USS Enterprise. One lesser known one is the USS Excalibur, which is present at Federation HQ in the 32nd century. That has the registry NCC 1664M. The siege ship USS Tikov also adds an M at the end of its registry. Discovery, being only on the A, has a lot of catching up to do.
Hi, I'm Duncan Relic, no relation, and I'm GTN's new progenitor expert. And I collect relics from before the burn. And I'm here to tell you about Squarespace. Using their next generation fluid engine, I created a website that isn't crud. They even have templates, and using them is as smooth as a progenitor's head. Creating an online store was a doddle. You can even create your own merch with Squarespace. They'll handle production, inventory, and super fast pathway shipping. So here's your red directive. Go to https://www.squarespace.com/TrekCulture for a free trial and 10% off your first website or domain purchase. I've been Duncan Relic, no relation.
Thank you so much everyone for watching along. We hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much to Clive Burrell for writing the article this is based on, you absolute legend. Don't forget to follow us on all of the various socials. We're at TrekCulture. You will find us nice and handily. Please make sure that you subscribe, make sure that you like and share this video because it seriously helps when you do. Thank you so much everyone who does that. Yous are all my friends. I have been Sean. You can follow me on the various socials. You look after yourself until I see you again. Make sure that you live long and prosper, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks very much, folks.